Let's imagine two business owners. Over in the UK, we have Alice, a wealthy tycoon looking to invest her capital. And over in the US, we have Bob, who runs a thriving retail shop but needs a quick cash injection to keep growing. Alice sees an opportunity. She sends Bob an acquisition offer. The deal is simple. She offers him a chunk of her own company's shares, plus a pile of upfront cash. In exchange, she asks for a percentage of Bob's daily business income. When Alice hits send, her money doesn't go straight into Bob's pocket. Instead, it enters escrow, sitting perfectly safe in a neutral holding space. If Bob rejects the deal or lets it expire, the vault opens. That cash automatically flows right back to Alice. Because the money is held securely out of reach until a deal is finalized, you can put real money on the table and negotiate with total peace of mind. Over in the US, Bob reads the offer. He loves the upfront cash, but he thinks Alice is asking for too big a slice of his daily profits. So he sends back a counteroffer, asking to give up a little less of his income. Alice looks at the new terms and says, absolutely not. She rejects Bob's counteroffer flat out. But here's where the system protects the negotiation. Alice's rejection doesn't tear up the contract. Instead, the negotiation simply loops right back to her original pending offer. Bob realizes her first offer was actually a great deal. He clicks accept, the escrowed assets are released, and their new partnership becomes official. You are free to haggle as hard as you want. If a counteroffer falls through, you don't have to worry about accidentally destroying a solid baseline deal. With the paperwork signed, Alice and Bob move into the reality of running a shared enterprise. Every single day, the game quietly looks at Bob's books through an automated process called the income sweep. This chart shows exactly how that daily review works. First, we start with Bob's total gross profit for the day. Then, standard taxes are deducted from that total. Finally, Alice's agreed-upon percentage is sliced off the top of what's left. Bob never has to write a check, and Alice never has to send an invoice. The system handles the entire transfer in the background. It creates a perfectly hands-off revenue stream. Once the deal is struck, you earn your share reliably, without ever needing to micromanage the daily collections. Now, there is one mechanical hurdle here. Bob's retail shop operates in the United States, meaning his registers are full of US dollars. But Alice lives in the UK, and her accounts are strictly measured in British pounds. To bridge this gap, the game routes the payment through the Central Reserve Bank system. As those US dollars pass through, they are instantly converted into pounds based on the real-time exchange rates driven by the global bond market. Alice simply wakes up to find British pounds deposited directly into her account. She never has to visit a currency exchange screen or calculate the math herself. By making foreign exchange completely invisible, you can invest across borders and build a massive multi-currency corporate empire without getting bogged down in administrative chores. Corporate strategies shift, and Alice decides it's time to cash out of her partnership with Bob. She initiates a process called a diffuse. She has two ways to do this. First, a share return. Alice demands her shares back, starting a 30-day clock for Bob to return them. Second, a cash buyout. Alice pays Bob market value in cash, severing the contract instantly. A diffuse ensures that an investor is never permanently trapped in a deal. You always have a clear, systemic way to retrieve your capital when you're ready for your next big move. But let's look at the other side of the coin. What if Bob's business is suddenly breaking sales records left and right, and he decides he's tired of sharing profits? Bob can trigger a target buyout. This is a defensive maneuver, where he proactively pays Alice the full market value of her shares in cold, hard cash. He doesn't have to wait for Alice to agree, and he doesn't need her permission. The moment he pays, the partnership is severed. Both sides get exactly what they need. Alice walks away with a heavy lump sum of cash compensating her for the shares, and Bob takes back 100% ownership of his soaring profits. These built-in escape hatches keep acquisitions fair for everyone involved. You can confidently sign lucrative partnerships knowing that no matter how the market turns, you always have a way to buy back your independence.